Hello, fellow wood chopperoos. The Big Chopperoo and Safety Dan here.
Hey.
And on today's episode, we're going to show you how to make your woodworking slick.
So what's up with the giant chisel?
Oh, this isn't a giant chisel. This is actually called a slick.
So when you say you're going to make woodworking slick, you don't mean cool? What, you mean that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, huh? It's a play on words.
No, you're just kind of an idiot.
So a slick is an old carpenter's tool, and it was used primarily for timber framing and shipbuilding. Now, if you're a hand tool kind of guy, then you're going to want one of these in your shop. And here's why. If you're working with rough green wood, well, the fastest way to do this is with an axe, a scrub plane, and then a jack plane. But this can be done with the slick. And it can go from this surface to this surface.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm going to show you how I did that using just the slick. Okay, when using the slick, you're not going to beat on the handle like you would a chisel. The long handle is actually going to be placed against my hip. The other hand, I'm going to ride on top of the blade. And this way I can feel what the wood is doing. Now, if I want to make a deeper cut, I simply lift up. That'll dig the blade in deeper. And to come out of the cut, well, I'll just tip my body down, pointing the blade upwards. And I just use the forward movement of my weight and body to flatten the board. In fact, let me show you now how I smooth this board from rough to flat.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Keep moving.
And the crowd goes wild. Ooh! Way to go!
So, maybe you're saying, hey Chad, I mostly work with dimensional lumber, not really green lumber so much, so why do I need a slick? Zoinks, that's exactly what I was thinking! Well, here's the #1 reason that I like using the slick, and let me show you. Let's imagine that you have your board and you want to take off, I don't know, something like 3/4 of an inch. Well, if you got a table saw, sure, that's easy. But if you're a hand tool guy, what do? You reach for a rip saw, and that can be long and painful. So, let me show you how slick the slick can be. So, here's the line that I want to cut down to. And in this case, I'm going to use a smaller slick. This one is only 2 inches wide. Now, going with the grain of the wood, I can quickly shave down to that line. The long handle definitely helps me steer it. And from there, I can finish it up with a plane and get it perfect. Now, to buy a slick, even an old one, well, it can be pretty expensive. However, I made this 2-inch slick from a chisel. Now, slicks have slightly different characteristics than a chisel, so let me show you. Now, if you notice on the chisel, on the back of the blade it's flat, but then it comes to the handle, and the handle gets in the way of the back of this blade. So if I was trying to use the chisel as a slick, well, when that handle comes, it's changing how I'm cutting into that board.
No.
Unlike the slick itself. The slick is flat on the bottom, and then the handle is angled up and out of the way. So, as the slick is going across the board, that handle never interferes with the blade.
Yes.
So that means I have to modify this chisel to be more like that slick. Now, I'm using an Irwin 2-inch chisel, and I really love this chisel. It holds a great edge. It has a really good balance in your hand when you're using it. And if you really have to hammer on something hard, well, it has a metal strike plate up here on top. So the first thing I have to do to make the slick is to remove the handle. And I'm not quite sure what's behind this plastic handle. I don't know if there's a metal rod connecting it from the blade up to the strike plate. So I need to proceed with caution.
Using a hacksaw, Chad carefully cuts the plastic down to see what's behind the handle. After cautiously cutting, he realizes that the metal does not go all the way through the handle, but merely reveals the tang. Now he uses a propane torch to heat the neck of the chisel, and then using some vice grips, he bends it to the angle he wants. With the neck bent, this will angle the handle up out of the way of the blade. But the handle angle is going to be too excessive, so Chad now needs to lower the tang angle. Once again, using the torch, he heats the tang and bends it to the angle he wants.
Okay, so changing the handle angle is the first thing that I wanted to do. The second thing I want to do to this slick, well, I want to change the blade radius. See, I want to take off the square edges and make it more round. This is going to help when we make those final cuts. See, the square edges, well, those can dig in and leave scratch lines when I make my final cuts. But by making the curve, this will hopefully eliminate that problem. Now, it's important to remember, we're going to sharpen this to be razor sharp. So, anytime we do that, it's important to remember what Safety Dan says. It's always safety first.
Chad has a variable speed grinder and slows the wheel down as to not heat the blade up. After the shape is formed on the chisel, Chad goes through a series of grit stones to bring an edge to the blade. Then using a strop and stropping compound, he brings a razor-sharp mirror edge to the blade.
Hi. Hello. Hola. What's happening?
To make the handle, Chad had a piece of scrap teak wood laying around, and he bore a hole in it for the tang to go into the handle. He then mixes up a 2-part epoxy, applies it to the end of the handle, and once it dries, you have a perfectly good working slick.
Well, and there you go. A hand tool that is really slick.
Hey, if you like hand tools so much, I got one for you. It's really old, and I'll sell it to you cheap.
Really?
Yeah, $50.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me see it.
Well, it's a classic, and it's sold. It should be in a museum.
Oh, my gosh. No kidding. Yeah. Sure.
Give me the $50.
Yeah, there. Let me see.
Here you go.
Oh, come on, man. This is just like a rock from your backyard.
No, it's not. It's a prehistoric hammer.
Well, if you like what you saw today, subscribe to us on YouTube. And don't forget to check out the website where we got a blog, free plans, and more. Well, there's one more thing that I gotta do.
Chad, I think it's time for you to dance.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there you are, a handy tool that is actually very slick.
Hey, if you like,
I do, a lot.
if you like,